All of this was God's idea. 10 years ago in Isla Vista, I was sitting in my car in the nonstop parking lot, just staring at a group of homeless people. I had just gotten back from my first tour as a DJ, where I had a complete meltdown on tour and had to leave early. I was fresh out of a rough breakup. I started drinking almost every night and at almost every show, and I started spiraling and I needed a way out. So one night, after drinking way too much, I started yelling the wrong city in the microphone, and the crowd started booing, and my music partner had to unplug the microphone, and it was just like a complete nightmare. And that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. So the next day, I talked to my parents on the phone. They were like, "Ethan, we think you should come home." And I was like, "Yeah, it's probably a good idea." So I left the tour early, flew all the way home from Florida, and I remember one thing from that flight, and it was that I prayed for community. I said, "God, give me community. I need good community to get healthy. I need people around me who are actually going to help me." Now, I'd heard about Isla Vista Church before. I'd even been to Jesus Burgers a couple times. But while I was on tour, my brother started going to the Sunday services. So, naturally, I started going too. I quickly found my footing amongst other creatives, and they happened to have a healthy sense of kingdom identity like I'd never experienced before. It was quite a drastic shift from life on the road. So there I was, sitting in that parking lot in Isla Vista, just starting to rebuild my life, staring at this group of homeless people, and I felt like I heard the voice of God say, "I want you to feed these people once a week." And I thought that was a pretty good idea, so I said yes. And after that, I pondered for a bit. I was like, what would be the perfect dish for this situation? I thought there's really two criteria. One, it's gotta be comforting, because I don't just want to feed people, I want to comfort them. The second thing is, people need to be able to chew it if they don't have a full set of teeth. I figured that would be relatively considerate. So comforting and easily chewable. Chewable? Is that a word? If it is a word, I don't like it. But you know what I mean. Comforting and chewable. And then it hit me. Macaroni. My 96-year-old grandma has a recipe, and I remember growing up that it never failed to deliver a sense of comfort. That stuff is absolutely delicious. And to be fair, I don't think anyone makes it quite like her. Shout out to you, Grandma Mary. So anyway, I called my grandma, I set up an appointment, decided which day of the week I was gonna feed these people, went to grandma's house, got a list of ingredients, went to the grocery store, came back to the house, and I let grandma show me the secrets of cooking that only grandmas know. Which in this case was really just a lot of butter, some flour, some milk, some seasoning, and an unforgivable amount of sharp cheddar cheese. And roughly a half an hour later, the first pot of mac and Jesus came to be. So I put the macaroni in my car, I drove it over to Isla Vista, and I pulled into the same parking lot where I heard God say, "Feed them." And sure enough, there was a pretty big group there just hanging out. So I got the macaroni out of my car and I was like, "Hey, you guys want some macaroni?" And thank God, a few friendly faces agreed to be the first test subjects. So I served up a few bowls, and there's a few moments of kind of awkward silence. They're kind of like, "Why are you doing this?" And I'm kind of like, "'Cause I want to feed you." And then slowly but surely, the compliments started. "Wow, this is great. Is this homemade?" And I'd say, "Yeah, actually, it's my grandma's recipe." And before I knew it, I was totally out of macaroni, and I knew that that dish was gonna be a winner. In the coming weeks, it wasn't long before word began spreading, and I had to double the recipe. So I cooked up another few pots of the good stuff, took a deep breath, rubbed my eyes, and all of a sudden, 10 years had gone by. Well, not exactly. That's kind of what it feels like sometimes. The truth is, after about 6 years, I felt called to move to Orange County and then LA and try to make music stuff happen. And so I needed someone to take over indefinitely. And thank God for Azita John, because she stepped up and she took over the feedings when I left.
You're the one that the Lord began this whole thing with. And then you did it for years.
It was all his idea.
And then I came into the picture screaming and wailing and kicking.
Wait, you really didn't want to do it?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I thought you wanted to do it.
I didn't even say I was definitely going to be there because I really didn't want to do it. And then you left.
Yeah.
I was traumatized when you left.
Well, thanks for keeping it up. She would bring her whole family and create a sense of community and belonging that I never could by myself. And I'll tell you, it is amazing what a tablecloth and some candles can do.
What do you have to say?
I have to say that Mac and Jesus is one of the best things I've ever been to.
So after around 2.5 years of Z doing it on her own, and me trying to make a name for myself in LA, eventually I moved back, courtesy of the voice of Jason Lomolino. And currently, Azita and I go back and forth every other week, and I'll cook that original macaroni recipe one week, and then Azita will make some crazy, incredible homemade dish, and we got a good rhythm going. Things have also expanded from just feeding homeless people, to feeding vagrants, transients, visitors, and even college students. Basically anyone who's willing to eat the food that we make. At this point in time, my favorite part about Mac and Jesus is that everybody has a seat at the table. So like I said before, All of this was God's idea. He's the one who asked me to feed people once a week. He's the one who gave me the idea to make macaroni. He provided personal funds through thick and through thin for us to always have supplies. He provided people to take over when I left. He modeled faithfulness to me throughout my whole life leading up to it, so that I could then try and model some of that faithfulness to the hungry people of Isla Vista. And now, more than ever, I've realized I am not any more qualified than anybody watching this video to do something like this. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm special, certainly. But so are you. All I did was just say yes. Just once. And then again. And then again. And then again. 1 week at a time. Now, if God asked me out the gate, will you feed these people every week for the next 10 years? I probably would have gotten super overwhelmed and tried to find a way out. But God has a way of bringing out way more in us than we ever thought we were capable of. Something about His power and our weakness. Anyway, the last 10 years can be summed up in this statement. If you feel like God is asking you to do something, especially something that helps other people, do it. If you feel like there's a need around you that you could fulfill that need, even just one time, and see how it goes. Start by saying yes just once, because you never know what you're missing if you don't, and you never know what's possible if you do. Thanks for watching, and here's to another 10 years. We did it! Yay! Not gonna lie, vitamin water is not the vibe. It wasn't good before, and it's still not good now. Real quick, I just have to say that Ryan has been at more Mac and Jesus's than any other person from our church, except for me and Azita. If it wasn't for him, it wouldn't be half the ministry it is today, so super thankful for Ryan. Had to give him a special shout out at Chick-fil-A. Guy knows how to order. Look at him go with those fries and that shake. I'll tell you, you lose ounces in the gym and pounds in the kitchen, all right? So anyway, just shout out to Ryan. Love you, Ryan. Ryan's been so faithful, so praise God for him.